Hey there, lady. Today we're going to dive into why taking ownership of your bodily autonomy and your physical intimacy is very important to have the sex life that you desire. So, one of the biggest concerns when you have gone through family incest or family sexual abuse is being sexually violated again. But unfortunately, this is actually the common reality. It is the reality because without emotional mastery, you're typically unable to understand and smell abuse if it isn't the way in which you know it. But when you couple emotional mastery and you honor yourself, you're able to actually recognize any Trojan horse before it enters your kingdom. You're actually able to recognize any danger before you even allow it in your life, much more in your body. So, welcome back to Safe Mommy, Safe Baby. This is the place for women who have experienced family sexual abuse and incest, and I support women to master their emotions so that you can confidently free yourself from the residue of any sexual abuse and embrace motherhood exactly the way that you want it and exactly the way that you need it for yourself. Today we're going to get into the feeling of comfort and how comfort plays a huge role in your sex life. But without emotional mastery, comfort will often cause you a lot of pain. Most oftentimes, you crave the comfort, but the remnants of abuse is actually still in your system. And when you're not totally clear on the traces of abuse that are in your system, and when you couple this with unmastered emotions, you're chasing the feeling of comfort that was stolen from you, which is fair, right? But because you crave the feeling of comfort that was stolen to you, you actually most oftentimes become the subject of abuse yet again. But this time, it isn't with someone who you least expected. It's actually with someone who you already invited into your life. It's with someone who you're already very comfortable with. It's with someone who you're already knee deep in the game with. It's probably with someone whom you're already in love with. But as a survivor of sexual abuse, you often correlate and you link your danger to the very specific way or the initial way in which you were violated. And you do not think about other ways that this violation can happen. So while you're so steadfast and focused on first base being the way that you know a violation, in broad daylight, right behind you, third base and fourth base and second base is being occupied and they're being robbed. And before you know it, you've been violated yet again. And this typically happens because you're, again, watching out for the base in which you know, and you're not guarding your other bases. And oftentimes you become sexually violated by someone coming in through a door that you never even knew was open. So if you don't know that the door is open, you don't even know how to guard the door. You don't know how to lock a door that that you never knew was open. It happens through a door that I'm referring to as comfort. And it is ironic that a feeling such as comfort, such a soft, pleasurable feeling as comfort, can actually cause you pain. But it does this because you have already been introduced. You have already ingested abuse. Abuse has already been forced into your system. And by this, most oftentimes you adhere, you become blind to certain types of abuse, if it isn't the abuse that you are familiar with. You don't really begin to smell abuse. You don't really begin to see abuse if it isn't coming in the ways that are blatantly obvious to you. You know how to protect yourself from blatant perversion. You know how to protect yourself from the creep, but you don't know how to protect yourself from the person whom you're comfortable with. You don't know that, or you don't even explore the possibility that the man who you're dealing with, the man who you're so comfortable with, the man who you share your bed with, the man who you allowed inside of you, the man who you woke up with today, you don't even explore the possibility that he's sexually violating you. Your intuition is so smothered, Your judgment is so clouded by the comfort, by the time that you guys have spent together, by the moments that you've built, that you don't really see it as abuse. We've been taught that abuse is usually done through force, and that is very far from the truth, because most oftentimes abuse is done through devilish characteristics and devilish tactics, such as coercion, such as manipulation. It isn't done through force. It's done very soft. It's done in increments. It's not done by someone taking something from you forcefully. It's done in a way where you would hardly even notice where you're being violated. And you become exploited. Your own natural desire for sex becomes exploited. And it's in those moments that you don't really want sex, but he's pushing up on you. He's trying to entice you. He's trying to take you there. He's trying to get you in the mood. And you've never been the person to play hard to get. And you know that he knows that about you. You know that he knows that you're not a woman who plays hard to get. You've never played hard to get with him. But yet and still, he's still pushing up on you, ignoring your body language that it's no. Maybe even ignoring you saying no, maybe under your breath. Or maybe it's a nonverbal no. But you know that he knows that you don't want it. And he continues to persist, and he continues to push up on you. So much so that you end up having full-blown sex. Most oftentimes, you've been violated. But you haven't been violated forcefully. And in the end, you have gave into it. Your body gave into it. Your natural desire for sex kicked in. And your bodily need override that initial feeling that you had, that you didn't want it in the first place. Most oftentimes this ends in you, this is a tactic on you being violated. This is not sweet coercion and no, baby, let me just get you in the mood. I'm gonna make you feel good, I promise. It's not that. And you know it's not that. There's a time for that. This is him taking quite some time to get you in the mood, and you don't want it. And again, you're not the woman to play hard to get with him. And he knows that about you. But he just won't stop because he has to get what he wants. He just won't stop pushing up on you. And then you become a little confused because your body is reacting to him, because your body will react. And then your reaction, your bodily reaction kicks in, and then you give in to the moment. Most oftentimes, this is how you become sexually violated. And on the low, well, high key, he exploited your natural desire for sex, but you didn't see it that way because, it was done with softness and it didn't seem forceful. You were a bit overwhelmed at his advances. Like, you're overwhelmed. You feel smothered. You feel overwhelmed. You're like, I don't want it. But he still just keep pushing up. He still just keep going. Like, this is not okay. He knows you. He knows you well enough to know that, like I said, if you want it, you give him signals and keys knowing that you want it, and you're in the full-blown mood to have it. Just because you have given somebody bodily autonomy, just because you have shared your body once with someone, does not mean that one yes means yes forever. It doesn't work like that. It has to be yes every single time. It has to be mutual every single time. If you're feeling, oh, let me just give him some sympathy sex. If you give him sympathy sex and you wholeheartedly gave him sympathy sex and that was your intention to give him sympathy sex, that is not this. I'm talking when you convinced yourself after you've been pushed up on for so long and smothered for so long that it's like, let me just do this and get it over with. He knew what he was doing, and he was taking advantage of you sexually. But because you're comfortable with him, because this is a man who you've already had sexual escapades with, this is a man who you're in a relationship, you don't see it that way. Just because you had sex under the guise of lovemaking does not mean that you weren't violated. Again, most sexual violation does not happen forcefully. But because your vision is cloudy and your intuition is so smothered, you cannot have that deep, intimate connection that you dream of. This is why your body is unable to release and receive the sexual pleasure that you dream of. You know your body has so much more potential. You know your sex life has so much more potential, but it is not happening for you. Those fireworks are not happening for you because your body does not feel safe. Your body is reacting, but it does not feel safe enough to do what you need it to do what you're longing for it to do. And deep down, that pure bliss that you really want, your body's not going to give you that reward because you're feeding your body garbage. So it's going to react at this level when its potential is only you know the potential in the sex life that you want, and you haven't been able to experience that yet, or you haven't been able to experience it as often as you want because your body doesn't feel safe. But again, your intuition is smothered, your judgment is cloudy, you're so comfortable with this person, but you don't understand why there's something about the puzzle about your sex life that just isn't. It's a puzzle piece, the last puzzle piece of your sex life. If your sex life is an entire puzzle, it's a 12-piece puzzle, the last piece is in the center. It fits, the piece fits, but it's a tight fit and you don't know why. It's because the man that you're with, he's not it. He's not. And the levels of pleasure that you want to reach, that you know you can reach, that you know you deserve, you're not reaching because you're settling for comfort, but not feeling safe enough. So now you're sexually frustrated and you're thinking that you need more sex when you actually don't need more sex. You need more quality. You don't need more quantity. But the type of sex that you're having leaves you yearning for more sex because you're sexually frustrated. But you believe that you might not even understand that you're sexually frustrated. You probably still think that you're aroused when really you're sexually frustrated because you're taking your body to a level where it needs to be, but it cannot go. So now you're sexually frustrated, and then the cycle just continues. And comfort isn't bringing you what you really want, nor is it bringing you what you really need. You see, when your emotions aren't mastered, there will always be tax to pay. And you're actually the auditor. And what you do is you usually hand out the first audit to yourself. You usually pass the first tax to yourself. And then you tax others in your life. We'll be getting into that in another episode about taxing people when your emotions aren't mastered. But in this regard, when it comes to your sex life, you usually tax yourself. You tax yourself. And you hold all of that blockage inside of you, thinking that maybe your pussy don't work the way you're supposed to. Maybe there's something wrong here or there, or for whatever reasons, when actually it's just because it's the person who you're allowing in your body. And this is the tax that you pay for not mastering your emotions and dealing with situations that are not good for you. You're taxing your own self with comfort and you don't even know it. But now that you're aware of how dangerous comfort can be and how it does not actually help you when it comes to the sex life that you desire and the sex life that you want, and how it can actually lead to you being subjected to victimization again, here are some steps that you can use to master your emotions, to protect yourself from further harm, protect your body, protect your entire self from further turmoil, and finally have the level of pleasure and sexual desire that you've been dreaming of. So number one, is to actually stop seeking comfort when it comes to your sex life. Comfort is dangerous. You need to deem comfort as dangerous. It's dangerous. Always remember that comfort is dangerous. You're not here to understand or empathize with anyone who is abusing you. That man that you're dealing with, it is not your job to empathize with him when he makes you feel less of your desires. This only ends in one way, and it's you harming yourself. You're going to practice self-preservation, and you're going to put yourself first, and you're going to be bold about it and unapologetic about it. It is not your job to empathize or understand someone who is hindering you from your desires. If you do, it will be at the risk of yourself. So that is number one. Let me just add to number one. As a woman, your job is to always be on offense. Your job is to be on offense. If you're playing defense, it's usually too late. But you go ahead and you play defense only if you have to. That is your last line of defense. But your first line of defense as a woman is to play offense. If it looked like a duck, smells like a duck, quack like a duck, it's a duck. Get out of there. Play offense. Avoid danger. See danger coming and get out of the way before it even comes to you. If danger is here, if it's within your personal space, it's a little too late. But there is still a way to get out of it without a scratch. But that is your last line of defense. Again, as a woman, offense, first position to play. Number two. So number one was stop seeking comfort. Comfort is dangerous. Number two, write down with a mental note or with a physical note. Physical notes are so much more powerful if you're going to do it this is a digital time. If you're going to do it on your notepad, on your smartphone, that is fine. But it's much more powerful when you do it with a writing utensil and something to actually write on. Don't ask me why, it just is. And write down what your true intimate desires are. You know what they are. You think about them from time to time and you wonder why your body hasn't experienced them or experienced them as often as you would like it to. Maybe you reached that stage one time and you want it again and it hasn't happened to you. Maybe you've reached that stage a couple of times and you want it again and it hasn't happened. Or maybe you've never reached that stage at all. That is okay. That does not mean that it won't happen for you. It will. You just have to be conscious about it. Write down your physical desires. Ask and you shall receive. Don't be shy about it. This is not a time to be shy. This is not a time to be mute. This is not a time to think that anybody's going to read your mind. You need to bring these desires out of you. Speak them aloud. Tell yourself what you want so that your body hears you and your body understands. This is what you want. You want it this way. You want it that way. You want however you want it. It is your desires. Bring them to life. Your body has been confused for a very long time. Your body has been going through turmoil for a very long time. So it's time to cut the brakes and go down another route. Or should I say up another route? Your body and you needs to get on the same page. Again, there's no room for shyness. Write down all of your desires and exactly how you want to experience it and own it. And number 3, understand that comfort is not your ceiling. So we know comfort is dangerous. Number 1, avoid it. If you're feeling yourself feeling comfortable, it's time to up level. Number 2, write down what your sexual desires are, how you want to feel, how you want them to be. Write them down. And number 3, take the ceiling off of comfort. Blow the ceiling off of comfort. Descend higher to safety. Always remember that comfort does not equal safety, but safety usually comes with comfort automatically. Just because you're comfortable with this man does not mean that you're safe with him. And if your body's not experiencing what you want it to experience, 9 times out of 10 is because this man is no good for you. He's not safe for you. You're just your judgment is cloudy, and you're so knee deep in a game with this man, whether it be through time or through emotions or through moments or through whatever. There's different reasons why you're comfortable with this man, and they might be all true, but you have to understand that two things can exist at the same time. He could have saved you. He could have provided for you. He could have told you that he felt this way about you. He could have made you feel a good way once or twice or whatever it is. And he could still be no good for you. So understand that two things can exist at once. It's not all bad. If it was all bad, you wouldn't be with him. And give yourself ample amount of time and endless amount of grace and forgiveness for any time that you've put your body through a turmoil, or any time that you've given your body to someone who didn't deserve it, someone who did not honor your desires, somebody who did not put your desires first. Because I'm pretty sure you're putting their desires first. You're thinking that they're going to put your desires first, and that if you put his desires first and he puts your sexual desires first, then it'll be a win-win. But that's not how it goes. You put his desires first, and he put his desires first. So now nobody's putting your desires first, and then you're done and you're wondering why you feel like you need more. When you don't need more, but there were two parties and none of the parties put your sexual desires first. So you're the only one leaving the situation feeling like you need more. He's good. And forgive yourself for any time that you've done this. Give yourself grace for any time that you've done this. And understand that it's a new day. And you will have the sexual desires that you want. And you will have the physical, intimate life that you dream of. You'll have it. You just have to own it. Own your desires of physical intimacy in your sex life, and cultivate your bodily autonomy as yours and yours only. And when you feel safe enough all over, when you feel safe enough from head to toe, inside out, when you feel safe enough, understand that your body will receive and release the exact way that you need it to, with no blockages in the way. It will do what it's supposed to do. It works just the way it's supposed to. It's just that it doesn't feel comfortable enough to show out. And that's why you haven't been showing out the way you want to, the way you dream about showing out, the way you know that you need to. So my name is Grace, and I'm the founder of Safe Mommy, Safe Baby. And here's a space where women who have been, or women who have experienced sexual abuse, family sexual abuse, or incest, will master their emotions, gain their confidence, and become the mothers that they've always wanted to be. And in order to become the mother that you always wanted to be with your full confidence, there are pillars that you need to have. And I love to explain the pillars in a umbrella, as if the umbrella is the dome, but you know, well, let me do it up here. The umbrella is the dome, but you know, with an umbrella, you have different like slats that make a dome. And one of the slats is intimacy. And intimacy is very broad. You have emotional intimacy, you have physical intimacy. Physical intimacy does exist outside of sex. But for the sake of today's episode, I am referring to your sexual desires, your physical intimacy, and your bodily autonomy, and how it is so important that you own these things and that you have them the exact way that you want them, because it plays a big role in your confidence. And when you're fulfilled through these trusted channels, when you're physically fulfilled through these trusted channels, physical intimacy, it goes way deeper than your sexual desires. But like I said, for the sake of this video and the importance of physical intimacy, you need it because it enables you to feel empowered in a way where you take that empowerment and it directly correlates to all the other areas in your life, especially when your past experiences of sex have been compromised and your desires and your sexual fulfillment have been compromised, which they have. So when it has been compromised, especially so early on, or whenever, when it has been compromised through the family sexual abuse or the incest, it plays a more heightened role in the blockages of your sexual desires. Typically, there are outliers who then tax themselves and tax their body through sex, but that's a whole nother episode for a whole nother day. I have a container called Dear Diary in my Safe Mommy, Safe Baby program, and it's a container where we work together for 4 months while I scaffold you and support you to reclaim your sense of pleasure and the way that you need it in the exact way that you want it. And during the Dear Diary program, we create a positive experience around intimacy with your partner that will translate. You create a positive experience with your partner with physical intimacy outside of the bedroom that automatically translates in the bedroom to have you have that sex life that you really desire and that sex life that you really deserve. And it's a sex life that's built on mutual trust, it's built on connection, and it's built on vulnerability. Because with these three, usually the body releases and it receives the way that it needs to because the blockages are gone. The vulnerability block is gone, the intimacy block is checked off, the trust block is checked, and there's no reason for your body to hold back. So it wants to come out and show out. So when you see this version of yourself, it creates a positive body autonomy within you. You begin to see yourself in a different light. You feel more confident amongst just a few things that come out of you having the sexual pleasure that you desire and the sexual pleasure that you want. But none of this happiness takes place first without you taking an inventory. So I call it the trust inventory in the Dear Diary program. We take a trust inventory of what's going on, where the blockages are, and then one by one, start getting rid of them. And then the trust inventory, it shows you exactly where your vulnerability lies and where it's blocked in your intimacy. And then, like I said, we go in and we start checking them off. So if you're ready to reclaim, your sex life and you're ready to reclaim your sexual desires, then apply in the description box below, well, above, right? Yeah. And we can do a free session, a free desired intimacy strategy call where we'll come up together. We will together come up with a personal strategy for you and your unique needs in your desired sex life. That is all. Good day.